We're going to call the meeting to order at 6:30 on November 22nd. And the gang's all here. So let's rise to say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and we're going to start off with presentations by citizens and visitors. Sandra, you're first.
I'm addressing this council with a formal complaint on the community board to include Brenda Reinhardt, Madeline McCluskey, Trish Terrazas, Marie Ammerman, Peter Carey, and council member Sean Scabs. This complaint is against the board for renting a city-owned building to parties outside of the community and turning it into an event center. Can you hear good enough? This complaint has been coming for some time, but the incident on Friday, November the 11th, around 7 p.m., involving gunshots and firecrackers at the community, at a non-resident adolescent party, needs to be addressed by the mayor and the council. The clubhouse is a city-owned property, yet Brenda and Madeline seem to think they are the owners and entitled to make all decisions concerning this building as well as all green spaces. There is no consideration for the cost of operations, wear and tear to the building, including water and septic system, and of course, the enormous liability to the city. There is also no concern for property owners living right next door to a building turned event center, including alcohol use on city-owned property. The city has been in litigation against Cynic Springs Event Center since 2017, yet this council has allowed the city-owned building to become an event center controlled by the community board. The clubhouse is now the council chambers to accommodate the growing number of citizens in this community. It is time for the mayor and the council to renew the ordinance on the community board with respect to their operations and the liability to the city.
Thank you, Sandra. Bob Locke. Becky. Madeline.
Come to our board meeting, let's put that on the next agenda. I fully support that.
Absolutely. All right. I am addressing items on this evening's agenda which concern me. First of which, repealing the ethics ordinance put in place by the mayor. I thought this was a very good ordinance. Shouldn't elected officials be bound to behave professionally and ethically anyway? There have been a number of ethics violation reports filed against the mayor. Is this the cause of the request to repeal this ordinance? Because this is exactly what we begged for from our elected officials in Washington and Gray Forest: less ethical behavior and less accountability. Repealing or amending the powers or authority of the mayor. The mayor has already taken many actions over which she has no authority and no transparency, I might add. One of the mayor's campaign promises was transparency. Again, ethics are in question here. The ordinance restricting the mayor from interfering with day-to-day operations of the police department, that such an ordinance was needed to be put in place, goes back to ethical behavior. Even though it was temporary, the police should be independent from influence from the mayor, and I wish that this ordinance would be made public. Which leads me to the next item. Asking for council's approval of the appointment of a citizen of our city who, from his next door posts, is not independent and is very biased. This sounds like one of those stories from a small West Texas town where everybody in the police department and City Hall are in cahoots with each other and scratch each other's backs. I'm hoping that in the event that council votes to accept Curtis Bolden as interim police chief, that there is actual evidence that he confirmed that he is TCO certified and is up to date on his current classes as mandated by Texas law. I am so disappointed, and none of this passes the smell test. Clearly, the mayor believes it does, but I sincerely hope that the council does not, because Gray Forest deserves better.
Thank you, Madeline. Susan, you're still good? Lou?
Hold, please.
Aaron?
Oh, please, thank you.
Mike?
Oh, thank you.
Paul?
Thank you, and early happy Thanksgiving to everyone. So I just wanted to say this evening that I'm hoping that the council will not ratify Curtis Bolden as interim police chief. For me, it's another example of the mayor's impulsiveness and inability to follow protocol, city ordinance, and to stabilize this community. If it is the will of the council to ratify Curtis Bolden, I would ask you to consider 2 points first. One, make sure you look at the standards of ethical conduct for all Department of Family and Protective Service employees, and even gain a letter from the department stating that he is clear of all conflict of interest. 2 points, and I'll give you this entire copy. Employees must avoid any conduct that creates the appearance that they are violating a law or ethical standards of the policy. Pretty high bar. And then under employment and voluntary activity, a DFPS employee may not maintain second employment with a company or volunteer with an entity that could benefit from access to confidential information. My household does have confidential information in the city of Gray Forest because we used to be, when there was a police department, a safe house for victims of abuse, children who were victims of abuse, and we would hold them safe while the bad guys were out there either trying to be found or they were in court. So I would not want him to jeopardize for that. And then number 2, I just would like you to consider his character, his disposition, in his own words, found on social media. Promulgating rumors. It's sad those officers were talked into resigning to attempt to force a political change and a recall. Rude, judgmental, immature. Alas, poor Russell, I knew him, a fellow of tall tales. He most excellently fancied himself. He hath pulled me over 1,000 times, and now how abhorred in my imagination it is. Again, choosing to promulgate rumors. Because if they are a city employee and conspired with a political opponent to sow dissent within the community against the elected government in an attempt to overthrow the government, may be a termination event. Rude, judgmental, immature. Curtis Bolden says, "Scott, pull your head out of Susan's butt. You're like a bad penny. Unwelcome, disreputable, unwanted." And council, it's Curtis Bolden's understanding that 2 or 3 of you members of this council have not been elected. And that in that truth, he says, you cannot sit on council and cannot vote. In fact, you right now are City of Gray Forest council members in violation of state law and ruling without consent of the people, according to Curtis Bolden, our candidate. So misinformed, blind acceptance of whatever he's being told, unfounded accusation.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. Laurie?
At the last council meeting, council approved vote rights option number 1 to get the police department up and running again, which consisted of hiring a full-time police chief, 1 full-time sergeant, and up to 10 to 15 reserve officers. Since that time, Mandy has appointed a replacement police chief to take over because Vote Right left. Vote Right left because Mandy was intent, her on doing something that made Vote Right uncomfortable. Again, her word, not mine, from that email. Based on my observation of Mandy's MO thus far, she is intent on achieving several things and pays no heed to city, state, and federal policies, processes, procedures, or laws, also called ordinances. It is my guess that his uncomfortable feelings stem from being asked to proceed in violation of one or more of the items just listed. Council, do you feel uncomfortable? I know I do. I urge you to use the tools you have already. The tools are the ordinances and the laws that you already have in place. Use those tools to take control back of this city. It's out of control. You are the governing body for this city. You have a vote on everything that she proposes. You can vote no. If she doesn't give you all the information, if it's in violation of something that you've already voted on. My grandfather was a great man and said a great many grand things, including people can't live up to your expectations if they don't know what your expectations are. Council, I urge you to define your expectations of Mandy going forward, and I urge you to hold them to your expectations. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurie. Laura, JB?
I just wanted to say that all the agenda items tonight, I am against. I don't think any of them should be passed. The stop sign, it was talked about at the workshop, and it was agreed upon that you would try out a temporary stop sign, and now the agenda is acting like we're putting in a stop sign again, is that's what it's being asked to pass. I'm also against Kurt Bolden. I have a post from him on Nextdoor where he, I remember replying to him after he'd only been here a short time, and I said to him, you've only lived here a very short time, why are you so angry? It was obvious that he was already taking like this, some kind of side, and he had just moved in. And so after the July 24th meeting, he posted, very dangerous trail, the chief placing himself above the elected officials. If he had any morals, he would have already resigned. This man, during our great snowstorm and ice storm when we had no electricity, went to Peggy's house and took her to kidney dialysis and sat with her and drove her home. And he has the nerve to say that the guy has no morals? Really? You don't even know him? Please don't roll your eyes at me while I'm speaking.
That's incorrect, but go ahead, please.
Second of all, the July 24th minutes do not at all, what I said and what is put on there that I said are not even close to what I said. I have a copy of what I said, nowhere close. So I still am saying the July 24th minutes with the missing audio are incorrect. Lastly, to all the citizens in this room, I would never go on Nextdoor and make fun of you and talk about how you act. Never. And after the last council meeting, that's what was done. The person who didn't even stay for the whole meeting went on Nextdoor and made fun of me. Okay? Talking about how I got flustered and stuttered and was gonna leave. That's just rude. I don't care if you say you're against something. I would never post on Nextdoor about your personal traits, your personality traits. Never. It's extremely rude. And Sandra, on Nextdoor, it said there was gunfire and you said it wasn't true. And what hasn't been mentioned is when the gunfire was called in, it took Bexar County Sheriff's 45 minutes to get here. Oh, and I forgot to say one more thing. Was Curtis Bolden recommended by Kurt Boatwright, our person that we hired to audit our police department and get everything straightened out? And I haven't been told that Kurt Boatwright's gone. You ran off another person?
Thank you very much, Laura. Jade?
I'll hold.
All right. Jeff Waldrop?
Oh,
Kathy Waldrop?
I will, Isabel, thanks. agreement had been reached, and many of my requests had been included in the Sharp lawsuit settlement. I believe that those of us that live so close to Scenic Springs should have more voice in the arrangements, because from what I understand, the parties will continue till midnight on weekends instead, which is not what was requested, although they'll be inside. We all know that the inside, outside is not very easy to maintain. Security is not specified whether it would be a police officer when alcohol is served. We need that clarified. Also understand that it's for parties of more than 75 to 100 people, which is not what was requested. And it should be a smaller group. For example, when we had our birthday parties, we were required to have police in, and it wasn't nearly that large. Reporting of all police report incidents to citizens was not addressed, nor the condition that if it was repeat offenders, this privilege will be revoked immediately. Terms and condition of this agreement, they're not grandfatherable if property is sold. That was one of the requirements, and I believe now I've read that it is grandfatherable, because whoever they sell the property to will continue to have those rights. The other concern I have is that now the entire property may or is considered commercial, and in the city limits. So this could expand the possible commercial activities that occurs in the other buildings on the property. In fact, I saw that short-term rental, retail, boutique, alcohol, food sales outside of the events, wedding and event center are permissible. So now it's like, I'm assuming now everybody can have boutiques. I could have a boutique. Chris, everybody on Scenic Loop or anywhere can have a retail or boutique, because we no longer have a grandfathered clause like we used to. So that really concerns me, that now we're going to become a commercial street or whole city. And I believe that if there's events, that one way that we could manage it better is for every event to have a permit. So they go to the city, they say they're going to have an event, the police can then monitor it, make sure that there's appropriate police department on the streets to manage for alcohol, anybody that's driving up and down that's had too much to drink. So those are my concerns before we approve that. I believe city council should still be required to approve it, and those are the concerns I have from what I've seen.
Thank you, Trish. All right, everybody else is good? Fantastic. All right. I will say, under my announcements, we have ended the litigation. The settlement is complete. Does not allow for commercial venues along Scenic Loop. It does not actually allow for any use that is not specified in the agreement. And so,
Retail boutique. I read the exhibit A.
correct, which is
Boutique,
What?
retail,
Which is-
alcohol, food sales.
exactly the
Outside of the
things.
event.
I appreciate it, please don't speak out, which were exactly the things that were requested. Security is actually a technical term. Security doesn't mean Joe Blow off the street acting as security. There is security. And to be security, there are certain guidelines to actually, the police officers, I'm sure, can tell you about what it takes to work security at a place. So that is over, it is done, signed, sealed, delivered. And we hope to never have to do all of that nonsense again, because it has been a painful road. And,
Now, may I speak?
sure,
Well, I saved my opportunity.
you did.
And so I was just going to say that for those of you who are upset that the litigation is over, and Mr. Henry and I may not agree with this, but when you push citizens, they file a suit against you, and ultimately you're going back to trial, and then you settle and you have to pay fees and you have to make concessions, clarification to you that what we did in the first place wasn't legal. The thing is that there were mistakes made all along. I read the depositions in that litigation. I read Jen's, I read Ron's, I read Bob's. I have reviewed that. But if you are advised by your attorneys that you have to pay fees and you have to make concessions, it's not because you had the winning hand.
Thank you very much. All right. Madeline, are you gonna talk about the Christmas party?
See the financials?
Well, I was just gonna make that announcement during the mayor announcements if Madeline's not gonna do that. Are you gonna talk about the Christmas party?
Yeah, we hope that everybody comes.
Okay, wait, just a second, let me do,
No problem.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, then I don't have anything else for now. I know, but, okay. So, then, financials, does anyone have questions,
Well, I comment,
comments? There you go.
so, city council, you don't have your page one, you make some notes throughout, and hopefully you were able to look through those. So, we highlighted the ARPA funds on page one, and when you see that on Dell, that means that we haven't transferred that.
Hold on, just hang on a second. Sorry, give me a chance to get there, okay? Sorry. Okay, without the ARPA funds?
So, on page one, we're just highlighting everything because there's some things that we need to make comment on. The ARPA funds on like Dell, close to the bottom of the page, on page one. Anytime you see ARPA funds, that means that funds, ARPA funds will replace that. We haven't done any transfers for that at all. So just wanted to make sure that you knew that.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So when you say ARPA funds will replace that, does that mean that we have already, this is part of the budget that we've already approved, or are we, or is this part of the amended budget?
This is the part,
It's approved.
yes, it's approved.
Okay, great.
Okay. On page two, I highlighted for you that we did make that ESP payment for the first quarter and the second quarter. Again, you'll find ARPA funds close to the bottom. Dell Technologies, that's for the keyboards and the mouse. The majority of the ARPA funds are being used for the police department, so that's what that's about. Nicole has some explanation on page 4 regarding the services. So you're going to be seeing, we're trying to work that out, and I think Nicole kind of really worked it out for that.
On Frank Francis, he was paid out, higher amount than he should have at first.
Please disclose that amount, please.
31,200.
Well, the first one was 18.
Hold on, let her finish, please.
Okay, I don't have that, I don't think that ever went through the account. Did it go through the
You
account?
need to, yeah.
Okay.
Can we have you answer the question, please, when it comes to the dollar?
Go ahead, go
that
ahead.
we're talking about?
I don't have the 18,000. That I don't
You
have.
have 31,000.
I have 31,200.
And that was for Frank Francis,
For Frank Francis.
who gets paid $11,000 a year as a stipend.
I think it was 11,000, but
Yeah.
it was an incorrect amount.
It was, let me help you a little bit. It
Okay.
was $600 a month that he was making. Severance was, for 6 months, was $3,600. After taxes, it should have been $3,200. Why there was a check made for $31,000 is the question.
That was an SWBC error.
Oh, no, I've done my homework. And after checking with SWBC,
It was my fault. It was my fault. I
it
didn't
is
check
the
the paperwork.
mayor's signature that makes that last call in that regard.
I talked
The
to
final
Michelle.
signature.
Yes. It was my fault. I didn't double check that. However, the check, he was not given $600 a month stipend. We budgeted $12,000 for the year. The problem was that we did not, he actually wasn't receiving a stipend. He was receiving an hourly wage, which threw everything off. Because he actually was making $31 or $32 an hour. And so they did not realize how many hours he was working. And that's how the initial check was 18, I believe. And so the 32 came from rolling in the errored amount with the correct amount. Still, the amount was higher than I expected. However, we went through and broke that down, and because they were basing it on an hourly rate rather than how we had budgeted at $1,000 a month, then it caused for figuring errors.
At the time, it was $600 a month. Hold on, let me finish. At $3,600. You were the last signature to approve it. So my point is, how did you overlook a $31,000 mistake?
I don't sign those checks.
The SWBC has said you were the final say-so. Okay? My next question is, since there's this big problem, is who caught it?
Frank did.
Yep, Mr. Honest Frank Francis, right? And then, I was told that SWBC pulled the check after he made the phone call to you. Was done by that way. They took the money back, they rescinded it, took it back, cut him another check. Again, to my knowledge, there's another approval amount that was wrong.
Well, you can see in the budget, the amount that was budgeted for him and the amount that we spent last year, it hasn't been $600 a month. I'm afraid that you're confusing code enforcement with Frank. Because,
I'm going by off all the checks that we've been getting all since.
no, he got paid far more than $12,000 last year. Sorry. Because he worked over, which he didn't get overtime, but he did work over the amount that was budgeted for him last year. And of course, he didn't work this year, so it was moot.
So, in the budget, why wasn't council, when this mistake was made, why wasn't council made of the aware of it?
Well, Sean, I've called you 3 times in the last week and a half, and I can't get you to call me back, so God knows what I would have told you if
Randy,
you
I
had
talked to you a week
only
ago, I
called
talked to you a
me
week
back.
ago, you weren't talking to me about that. You talked to me about something else. If this was something you were gonna talk to me about, why didn't you bring it up to us when this happened a month ago?
What, I mean,
No, don't, I'm just asking, it happened a month ago, not last week.
I think we actually talked about it at the last
No,
meeting.
we did not.
There was errors,
No, we
but they were fixed. I mean, I don't understand what the problem is exactly. It was caught, it was fixed. I mean, if we're gonna be pointing fingers, I mean, we can point fingers all around. I said it was my error, I took that blame. I talked to Michelle, I apologized, and she fixed it. I asked her to please not withdraw all the money from him that first weekend because I didn't know what he was planning to do, and I trusted him that he would return the difference and we could make that right very easily with him. So, no. I mean, I think it's phenomenal that no one on council has ever made a mistake before, but I am very flawed and I make mistakes all the time. So I apologize. However, the money was very much recovered because Frank is terribly honest. So, there you go. I apologize to you personally, Sean,
No, I
because
just-
it apparently distresses you
No,
more and more.
I just wanna know how, if this is a budget that you're in charge of, and the final say-so is what you make of it on the payroll, on those stipends like that, on those, payouts that we did. I just wanna know, did you just oversee it, overlook it?
It was,
Because that's what-
yes, it was completely overlooked.
On
And I
both,
felt-
on both of those, on both Renee's and Frank Francis's? 'Cause
No,
there were also
not-
mistakes on Renee's.
No, there weren't mistakes on Renee's. Renee wanted to do his differently. However, we spent a lot of time on Renee's.
I'm not worried about Renee, I was worried about,
Well,
the big mistake.
I know that
with
Renee's
Frank.
Renee sent an email to council, I'm sure you all got it, regarding the mistakes, and had not heard back for a while. So originally, it was incorrect, as
It was not incorrect.
Well, that's not what his email said.
It was not incorrect. He wanted the taxes figured differently than it was, and we went back.
He said that there was.
I don't care, Kimberly, that's
Yeah,
not.
you should care. I'm sorry, you should care.
It was.
Let me speak. He said in that email, I believe that there was like some major taxation, that a big mistake.
There absolutely was.
Okay, so that's what I'm referring to.
Yes,
There was 40% or something withheld.
there wasn't 40%. But, I mean, we can talk about what was discussed, but those were executive session discussions.
No,
and
I'm
so
just talking about the numbers being wrong.
Mhm. The
That's all.
numbers weren't wrong.
Okay.
All right. Do you have any other, or are there other questions on the financials?
So how are y'all gonna do that? You're gonna figure out how to equate?
Brenda, the bookkeeper,
Okay.
has added back in the 32,200. I'm still working with her on the finance. To get that fixed.
Okay.
So we're getting there in the QuickBooks side of it.
Okay, so when we get to our end of the audit, we're gonna be square. Okay.
On Friday.
So on the next page, there is a line item at the bottom, we highlighted it because it does say GFCC, but that wasn't coded to GFCC, that was actually coded to emergency management line item.
Wait.
Okay. Okay.
On page 5, bottom.
That's right, page 5.
Please say that again.
On page 5, it says GFCC, we just wanted to know that the installation and the transfer of the Maverick electric, which is the generator that's outside, was actually coded to the emergency management line item.
Okay.
So I didn't want that to be confused in that. On the next page, on page 6.
And I did direct that, but can I just, there,
GFCC.
correct, because though it was done on the building, it was done for the furtherance of the emergency management plan that was in place. And so I didn't want that to go against the clubhouse budget.
Yeah, that was correct. We don't want the clubhouse.
I thought we had, is this related to you calling an emergency? Is
No,
something
this was
something else?
the emergency,
I don't
The
understand.
emergency shelter.
The shelter.
that
The
was
shelter.
in place.
Holding shelter.
Yeah, the shelter.
Yeah, he came in and put the,
Yeah.
you put the end. That's exactly. Sorry, anything else?
No, that's okay. Any questions easily answered? On page 6, the next page, you're gonna see DMV inspections again on here. Just as a reminder, we did take DMV inspections off of payroll, so you'll start seeing them there.
So this is BJ?
BJ,
Okay, so he's now independent.
independent
contracted,
Ah,
contracted.
thank you.
Yes, sir. And then, yeah, so on the last, just the last page, just wanted to let you know that we did make a board order annual credit. And we just had, the reason there's a 0 on Ryan Henry's, check is because we had some questions and we got those answered already, so, and we need check this issue. So, and that should be it. Any other questions?
Do we have the amount?
I don't have the amount with me right now.
Okay.
So we need the amount for Ryan's line item?
Actually, it's gonna be a 0 because we canceled that check.
Oh, okay, so that'll, we'll see it next time.
You'll see it in the next one.
Any other questions?
The one on the annual payment for the Ford,
Yes, sir.
the 2022 Ford.
That's-
The public works.
That's the public works.
There was something on, for a map, boundary shape file, no, from Griffin. Oh, I just give her, I see it up here.
That was to redo the zoning map. council or any of staff have announcements? All right, Madeline, are you ready?
Yes, so we have our big annual party coming up this, on the 4th of December at 5:30, and this is like every year, we've got a turkey in the freezer, we got a ham in the refrigerator, and got all kinds of good food, as we always do, so we hope that everybody can come and be a community and leave all their politics and all their comments and everything outside and just be neighbors again, at least for one night. So thank you.
What's the timing?
It's 5:30 to until we make them start cleaning up, and that usually they can six up.
And everybody brings a side dish, or?
Yes, a side.
And that was December 4th?
Yes, sir. The first Sunday in December.
Jen and Susan, I kind of skipped you, I'm sorry. Do y'all have anything on the Wahalote? Y'all are on the committee, do y'all have anything you'd like to?
I think Jen was gonna speak.
Oh, Susan, it's your turn.
I will tell you that we got a very nice email back from Philip Covington, who has worked on several projects, Rancho Diana, the Bat Cave over here. I'm missing one. He's working with us now, so we have some steam going, and things are starting to move.
He works on the conservation easement.
Is this a lawyer?
No, this is not the lawyer. This is the guy that works for, and I'm gonna, Susan?
It's the Citizens Advisory Board, and it's called CAB.
Yes.
So he works with SAWS and all the other entities that are involved in that have to go through. So any conservation easement that, properties that they're looking at goes before that board. There's several phases.
Do you have anything else?
And meanwhile, Annalisa reported that we have $7,000 and something dollars for the lawyer. And I'm almost embarrassed to say that it came from the people north of us in the new subdivision, the Canyons. They collected the money to pay for the lawyer's retainer. I think we should match it, but I just think we should. Anyway, carry on.
Jen, the builder's still doing due diligence. He hasn't actually decided to purchase, or is he has?
They have not purchased.
Okay.
The land, the property is still up for.
They're still waiting on the permit.
No, he hasn't, Lennar has not bought the property.
Right.
So I don't know what they're waiting on.
Probably the permit, I would assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does anyone else have questions for Jen or Susan? All right.
Yeah, Madla, I need to, we were able to get that in the newsletter, but Madla Park is gonna be having new hours. A lot of this is related to the fact that, we need to close at 5 o'clock. We haven't had the police around to be able to close up for us, so we have been volunteering to close. But a lot of times we go in there and there's cars there, after hours and after dark, but there's no human in there. And so we don't really wanna close up and lock them in there. So we decided to, as a board for Madla Park, to change the hours to 8 to 5, and we'll be putting a sign at the entrance so that you can see when you come in, because that it is gonna be closed promptly at 5 o'clock, and there will be the non-emergency phone number. So just in case we have closed up and they don't know how to get out, there's a phone number for them to call. So just want you to know that new hours, Madla Park, 8 to 5, and do know that we will be closing the gates at 5, but there's an emergency number if you get locked in.
Is it temporary, or?
Yes, until we get the, yes. This is just because we don't have police to be able to open and close, so we're just voluntarily opening and closing the park this time. Also want you to know that our online auction is in the spring, and it's set from May 7th to 14th. And to donate, we have Nicole, and I think we had her phone number in the last newsletter. So please make sure to call Nicole. If she doesn't answer, she's asked us to please tell you, just leave her a message, and she'll be happy to get back
Jerry, let's make sure that this is Nicole Balderas, not Nicole or.
Oh, yes, sorry, sorry, yes, yes.
But you can call Nicole too, she was sweet. She just won't personality. Is that, you're good?
Yes, yes. Storms, was there anything else, okay, or Susan, or Jen?
Doc, just a question for you. Is there a Knox lock on that gate? Because everybody's favorite number is 911 when we lock them in there. And we'll be more than happy to come and unlock it for you. That's not the issue. It's how we unlock it that comes into question. Is there a Knox lock on there, do you know?
There's a keypad, and there's also, if you just blare your siren, it'll open.
Okay, no, we can do that.
Oh, really?
Really?
It's got an SOS.
Chris, you might wanna practice that, because
I will.
I've never seen it before.
Thank you.
All right. Curtis, do you have anything to say about the police department?
Starting patrol today. Still filling the schedule. We have most days filled, and we will try to be back up to 24/7 patrol within the next 60 to 90 days.
Thank you very much. You want to add anything about the fire department?
Hi.
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, that's
sorry.
fine, I'm used to it. Lieutenant Chris Anderson, I'm in charge of A shift. A shift happens to be on today. I'm filling in today for the chief, Mr. Don. It looks like you're gonna see us officers more often filling in for city council, so if you guys have these questions, things like that. The city is in the newsletter. We had 5 runs in the city. We, 3 fire, 2 medical. Average response was less than 3 minutes, and things like that. So if you guys have any questions for us, any concerns, let us know. We're here 24/7. Happy to be here, happy to serve.
Thank you. We appreciate you. All right.
There's no public works report this time? Okay.
No, Public Works did save a number of dogs in the last week and a half, which I thought was real sweet. I know, and they helped with the mobile home coming through town.
Yeah, I saw them out there.
Which was major.
Yeah.
So,
They did a lot of chipping for.
they did. Yes, and they're still chipping, and they're trying to limit it till Tuesday, so put your bid in early. All right. So then we're gonna move on to the minutes. The approval of minutes from July 24th, special meeting, September 27th, regular meeting, October 17th, special meeting, October 25th, regular meeting, and November 9th, special meeting. Do you have a motion? Yes, sir.
Councilwoman very glad to my attention that there was an error on the September 27th on page 5. The council voted for the 1 person.
Yeah.
So that would be a correction. So the motion would be with corrections. If there's any other corrections you need to make.
There's an item as well, the October 25th minutes.
Okay.
On the very last page, under item F, that item that says that the mayor requested this be moved to open session. This item was never discussed at all. It says no action was taken, but it actually, this was an item that Ryan Henry commented on when we were in open session, saying some of these items would not be able to be discussed unless we were in executive session. So,
Can we just remove just the removal of mayor requested to move this?
Well, I did
Well,
request it be moved.
she might have requested that it be moved, but I think it needs to be clarified that, this was not, we didn't actually discuss it at all. We never got to this item.
Commissioner, it just says no action.
Yeah, it just says no action, but we didn't get to that night. That was the really late night, and there were quite a few things that we never even talked about.
You were going to say no discussion and no action.
Okay,
So we change it to no discussion and no action?
thank you.
Thank you.
And then the July 24th minutes. I know that, and I think it might have, the timing might have been off on that, Miguel.
Okay.
But I know that you did receive the audio recording that one of the residents sent in to you, and I just think that, we just need to continue to put those on hold until we can update them properly.
You talking about July 24th?
The July 24th.
I got those on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm not sure when you got them, but I think that the packet was already out, so.
Packet was already out.
Yeah, I think that though, if you can archive the audio, correct? We've moved to action minutes, so if someone wants to listen to the audio, they may. There is nothing actually erroneous about these minutes, correct?
I just think it's been such a point of contention that it would be nice to have the minutes done. I'm okay with, it's not our audio, the audio is hard to hear. I didn't get a chance to go through the whole thing, but since we have it and it's been on hold for this long, why don't we just publish it so we have it in writing? I don't think there's anything wrong with continuing to put these minutes on hold. I don't think it's a problem. I mean, yes, I'd like to get it done, but now that we actually have the information provided, should we take a stab at it one more time?
I don't mind, I mean, it's just that whenever I went back to the audio that was provided, I think your question was regarding a statement made by Frank Francis, and the audio that was provided doesn't specifically have the recording for Frank Francis. So you stated that Frank Francis had made a comment, and you wanted that comment in there. So if you let me know what that comment is, I can add it.
No, that wasn't the only thing. I mean, those minutes are just completely incorrect on almost every statement. So, I mean, that was one of the things that was an example, because Frank had said he would not be staying. And it was, that was just completely left out. But that was just an example that I gave. I don't know how the rest of council feels about it. I mean, at this point, we've gone on and on. We do have a recording. We could submit that as part of the record.
Is it not a full recording?
No, it's not full recording. Mr. Guerra?
Yeah.
So the information that you provided was only snippets of individuals speaking, is that correct? It's not the full recording in that Dropbox that you provided, right? What you provided was actually just videos of individuals speaking, and it wasn't every individual, is that correct?
Yeah, it wasn't from bell to bell, if you will.
So,
to make sure that my phone didn't run out of battery, when someone spoke, I turned it on,
yeah, so it's not like.
And it's unedited raw, but it's not.
Yeah, no, I appreciate everything
Not
you've done,
professional,
but
not good.
I guess what I'm trying to explain is that they're not, like, it's not the
Yeah,
whole
it's
set.
not the
No,
whole
they're just
thing.
snippets of individuals speaking.
Do you wanna?
Yes, sir.
Am I hearing this right, and nothing against anybody that's individually that's submitted anything, but are we saying that we have taken and put in the minutes things that are submitted by somebody else's audio? And if that is the case, I think it's a little risky. If we want to rely on audio, then we ought to have a recorder up there recording everything and make that the official entry, not some submission by somebody else.
Right, I think what you're missing is that audio was not, we don't have that somehow it didn't get recorded at the city level, and there was a lot of discrepancy back and forth about actually what was said. And so Paul Garrow raised his hand and said, I have an audio recording. So I think what you
And that's fine, but I still stand that should not be, whether it's Paul or anybody
I
else.
respect that opinion. What I'm saying is that there's nothing that the city recorded. So we either don't approve these minutes because what was being written was not actually what people said. That's why these minutes are outstanding.
Yes, Aaron.
I spoke directly to the Texas Attorney General's office about this specific situation, and they highly suggested, with noting that there wasn't the one, they also highly to put that in the minutes for everybody's protection, and yes, they know what it is. They say towns are doing it all across, and they highly suggested to do a Facebook Live and save it. That's what they're recommending to a lot of small towns and bigger towns. No, they are. I talked to, well,
Well, I mean, they are.
The
I appreciate that, yes, ma'am.
Because when I can manipulate,
I don't know why
safe place with
comments
comments.
are put into.
She doesn't,
I don't understand why citizens' comments are put into the minutes of the meeting. That's not.
correct, and that's the only thing that appears to have discrepancy, and therefore, that's why I think I had them remove all the citizen comments.
People want theirs attached to minutes that you write them. And if they don't write them, then they're lost.
Well, we have a process in place right now that we're trying to follow. That's what this is all about.
Well, except for it fell through because the meeting was long, and that's why it was not negligence that on anyone's part, it was just a long-winded meeting, and so it didn't get captured. And so if there's nothing erroneous in the minutes, I would, yes, ma'am. I would ask if there's a motion to accept the minutes in the consent agenda, with the corrections.
So I'm just trying to verify what's going on, so we don't have an official recording, so
We
we
don't
really
have an
can't,
official
so we really, and we just don't have it. So it's not any way we're gonna be able to get it, or,
Is
so,
there, can we not approve minutes? I mean, if we say they're just pending because they're not approved, because we disagree on what was written or how it was recorded? I'm asking Brian now.
Yeah, so the way, your minutes are technically the official documentation of what happened at the meeting, but they're supposed to be focused on the vote. So the motion is the second vote. So there's an official recording of what action you took and what action you didn't take.
Right.
And so that's really what the essence of the meetings are. If the council
That
has
was
a
a special
misunderstanding.
meeting.
Yeah.
That was the special meeting, that's the
But
concern.
if the council is not the recording is only there to assist the city secretary in creating the minutes. And then once the minutes are technically created, absent any adjustments to the retention schedule, which is another thing on your agenda tonight, but normally those recordings are disposed of because their purpose isn't to keep forever. Their purpose is just to help the girl write them. If you are not comfortable with the way the minutes are written, you don't have to approve them. The thing is, when you don't approve them, you don't have the official recording of what the votes are, or whatever happened at that meeting.
Right.
And so, you can, work with them until you're happy with them.
Okay, so we can just continue to.
Just understand there's no official record of the votes until it's approved.
Right, and there's likely not to be further information so that there is nothing erroneous in them. It just doesn't have all of the comments made by the citizens. But hang on just one second. Yes, Laura?
Okay, so my question is, for the July 24th meeting, are you saying that the minutes are removing all the citizens' comments?
It lists the people the staff that was present, and we have the listing of who was here. But yes,
All the comments have been taken out? I'm just asking, are you guys, when you guys are looking at the July 24th minutes, are all the comments removed?
yes.
Yes, the copy we have has no citizen comments in it.
Okay.
It's not really removed though, they're just not there. They're not here. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're not being notated.
That's right.
Right.
They
So,
weren't removed.
well,
Right, they were still said at the meeting.
well, obviously, yes, but you're choosing, so in the past, we've always put citizens' remarks on the minutes, which I don't care, it doesn't matter to me if you're choosing not to. But my only concern was that the way what my comments said, on the minutes were not at all what I mean, not even close to what I said.
Which is a good reason not to.
Well, then,
Right, better not to be
no,
misquoted.
I'm just,
Okay,
this is
thank
what
you,
I'm
Laura.
just, no, guys, just a second, I'm just trying to understand it, that's what I'm saying.
There are no citizen comments on the minutes.
Okay.
And not for any of the following minutes either.
Okay, so that's something the council has
I
decided.
went to action only minutes. Yes.
Okay, Is that something the council like voted on?
Nope.
So that's something you're allowed to do on your own? I'm just asking.
Yes.
I'm just trying to understand it.
That is why all of the minutes that we have subsequent have been action only. And, the 24th, I think, was one of the last meetings that was not the action only. And that's why I said, just move it to the action only, because it's the only way that we can recreate that meeting and not misrepresent
Right.
what people said.
So then if you don't have any citizen comments on there, what you need to approve is only the actions that were taken,
Action only minutes.
then.
That's
Because
fine.
I think the only problems have been the comments.
Okay, Andy, do you have something you'd like to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, what is the consequence of not approving the minutes? You don't have an official, but if you just had a vote of, well, we don't have these, my dog ate them or something.
But we do have them, we just don't have the citizen comments.
Right. And so that would be the same thing though, right? If you said we can't approve this because we don't have citizen comments, how much, trouble are we in for not approving the comments? So you've got to move on, I mean, my National Association of Parliamentarians card membership has expired and I lost my card, but I think what you could do is make a motion to suspend indefinitely, put it on the table, and if, if it comes back again and you have, these comments mysteriously show up or something, then you can put it back, right? That's it. I think we need to move on.
That would be if we were using Robert's Rules of Order.
The way I understood it, and I may be wrong, but the attorney said that the reporters are tasked Miguel to regurgitate and print up the minutes. And then after that's done, then they're done away with. Is that right?
We are actually preserving them now.
You are preserving them?
Correct.
Okay, sorry.
That's how that is how we, justify the action only minutes, because then if people wanted to hear what happened, they could go back and listen to the recording, even though everything wasn't word for word on the minutes. So.
Because I was gonna say, if that were the case, let's at least wait till the minutes are passed and then do away with the.
Well, I think we're gonna just keep them as long as, I don't know. Okay. So, yes, Paul?
Small point was, I did, and maybe for everyone else that speaks this, if you heard, I did submit word for word what I said that evening to council, so you have verbatim that, if that helps for record for in future. But I think for me, this particular item of July 24th was, if someone were to ask, do citizens care about what's going on in Great Forest? The answer was yes on July 24th. And then some depiction of, I don't know, maybe 50-50, right? There's like 50% of us that spoke and said, I don't know what it is, 60-40, 50-50, but we spoke and we gave our sentiments. That's the part that I'm like, I don't want to have that void of July 24th, because there was a big outpouring that night and a lot of people signed up to be heard. And some depiction or some reflection that people spoke. And I guess maybe you're saying like.
Well, there is, like, all of that is safe. You submitted your letter, so that is with the packet. The sign-up sheets, we preserve all of that.
Okay.
So all of that is memorialized.
Is there really anything more we could do? I'm just trying to ask one, particularly, is there really anything?
Sit down with, Verity and just, if she has made some notes or something that she believes that would make the minutes correct for her, then we can do that as well.
It's not just for me, I mean, I think the point of all of this is that was a very important meeting, and what people said didn't get recorded. It's unfortunate that we have the technical problem and or whatever it was, and it didn't happen. But now that we have the opportunity to do that, and it's not gonna be perfect, but I would feel more comfortable if we had it, since it was a special meeting. That was about a big deal in our community. That's just my personal thought. So whatever council wants is fine with me.
No, Kim, I'm just trying to understand, so what is the opportunity that we have? You mean because we have citizens recordings, is that what you're If we
We
don't
do,
have our
we have some of
recording-
it, and we
Okay.
have statements from, I think Paul sent his in. I think Mike Phillips has gotten with Miguel already, I don't know that for sure, but I thought he said that in the last meeting,
A while back.
a while back, okay.
Okay, so we could accept our action minutes, but we could also make sure that we've included all the citizens who wish to report what they remember saying in the minutes. I'm just asking. I'm not sure we can really do that.
I don't think they can.
The minutes, in this particular meeting, there weren't any votes.
Right.
All right, so you could pass these as action only. You can have the citizens submit whatever they remember, and you pass a resolution. You basically say, because of the technical problems, we want to make sure that the citizen sentiments are captured. And then you pass a resolution with all of those kind of, it's a separate thing, but it's in the record about what everyone said, what everyone expressed, and you still have it captured. Its presence in the records has the exact same effect, whether it's by resolution or contained in the record.
Okay.
That's up to you.
I don't, I mean, Paul sent his in, he sent in a whole batch of information. I don't know how you recreate that. I had submitted his, but now it's been months. Yes, John?
So I guess what I'm trying to understand is, what is the purpose of everyone saying something if it's not going to be recorded? So going forward, would it not be better that if someone's going to say something, that they submit that in writing to council so that it can be attached to the, I mean, that seems like, well, I don't think anybody knows that.
A number of people do that, yes.
Yeah, and I don't think, it's not general knowledge that you can do that or should do that. We were under the impression that if you talked at a city council meeting, that it was being recorded and it would be part of the minutes. That's my understanding.
Well, it used to be.
Well, it says here, citizens may submit a written statement to the office of the city secretary no later than 30 minutes prior to the start of the meeting. I think this is.
Sandra,
what
it's
we
always
do
been
now.
like that,
It's a
but
policy
people,
and
they also
procedures.
used to put what people said.
But we're now doing recording.
Okay, so we have to, is there a
Always
motion?
been recorded.
That we approve this, and we also approve the resolution to the July 24th special meeting. Sure. Because I think, I'm thinking.
Well, because there were your corrections too, so like.
Okay, on that.
So I'm gonna make a motion.
Can everybody be quiet, please?
I'm gonna make a motion to accept the consent agenda minutes with the corrections on the September and October minutes that we discussed, and with the resolution for the July 24th minutes to be created as part of the permanent record.
Thank you. Kimberly, do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Sean. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Discuss and take possible action on ordinance 1132, an ordinance of the city authorizing amendments to the adopted annual budget of the city of Great Forest for 21-22 fiscal year, providing for supplemental appropriation and/or transfer of certain funds previously authorized, providing for severability, and providing for other matters related to the subject.
Alright, so what we decided to do, and I'm not asking actually city council that you don't actually have to pass these tonight unless you feel comfortable doing so. Because this is quite a bit of numbers for you. And this is the request for the amendment of last year's budget that was amended in July. So what we provided to you was the original budget and then the actual amount that was spent and then the amended budget that was done. So what we did on your exhibit A to the ordinance was we're looking at the amendments which were to be in red. And so the red is what we're asking to the amendments to be. But if you had any other suggestions for amendments to this budget, then we could do that as well as add them in. So we could just go ahead and pass the ordinance with the adjustments that we have or that you have.
And this is, from October 2021.
That's
You're
correct.
not talking about just what we're gonna be amending with our most recent budget.
That's
You're
correct.
saying,
This is last year's budget.
okay.
To fix the fund.
But I didn't, if y'all would like to have time to look over it.
I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would.
Then let's just, we will
Yeah.
wait on that.
And the other, so,
But-
I know this is a lot,
No,
of
no, no.
I know this is a lot of information, but what Nicole and I also did was we went back to all of the revenue that we had received throughout the year. And we were planning on sending it out, but we know that it's a lot of numbers, and I know there may have been some questions today. And I wasn't expecting to pass this today as well. But what we did was, anytime that we had seen something that seemed totally off or way off, then we went ahead and printed off the actual report as to where it was spent or the actual deposit. Because on one of the deposits, there was a big question about the miscellaneous, and we kept explaining to you, and I know that council requested proof, you know, so, and that's good, I'm glad about that. So, in the miscellaneous, you're gonna see that we had a 60th anniversary, and so that actually pushed it up pretty high.
Can we
And
have,
so-
are we able to have?
No, that's what we brought these for you so that you could have them. But we wanted to explain it before we actually handed it out to you so that you knew this is what we're doing. If you have any other,
Is there anything in here, Miguel, that you would like to point out to us before we take this to review it further?
Sorry.
no, what we did was really just try to, it's not gonna be a balanced budget, just to let you know. With the budget, it's just
But that's okay.
yeah,
So your purpose was not to get to balance, your purpose was to show a true picture of the entire year.
That's
Because
correct.
you had all final numbers now, we're not guesstimating like we're doing it in budget. You wanted to show the true reality.
that's correct.
Okay, that's
Okay,
helpful.
and Miguel, can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Does this your final version of last fiscal cycle budget change anything for our current budget?
No, not for our current budget.
Yes, it does. Because in our current budget, we thought we were gonna get the ARPA funds this
Oh,
year,
okay.
but we didn't. We got them paid in last year. So that's gonna be the main difference on that.
That's right, I'm sorry.
And so that's in here?
Yes, the ARPA funds then are showing in this amended budget. And I'm working on the amendment for our current year and have made those changes there, but I haven't finished all of that.
Okay,
I'm
so it was
sorry.
deposited in October or something?
Just actually a few days before, it was like the 28th or
Yeah.
27th or something.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So on the front cover page is, this, it's not part of the actual exhibit, it's just the information we wanted to provide for you with the actual numbers that we need. So again, we knew that this kind of would be a workshop, we wanted to provide you with all the information of the expenses and what we saw. There was so much more expense in one area than another area, but we kind of had reported that. We wanted you to also see it for yourself. One of the things that Nicole and I did was we went back to all of the line items to make sure they were coded correctly. So that's been done. So we're kind of preparing for that, we're preparing for our audit, so hoping to get there. But if you have questions regarding the line item, ask me and we'll get those printed off for you and we'll send those out to everyone. So if you want to send me a question about line item 301, just understand that if you might have that question, I might send it out to everyone so that everybody's on the same page.
That would be great.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Thank you. Yeah.
I know it's a lot of numbers, so.
Yeah, this will take.
Thank you, Miguel, and
Yeah.
Nicole for doing that.
Miguel, any chance I can get a copy of that?
Yes, sir, with the public information request.
Got it, thank you.
Okay. All right, discuss and take possible action on ordinance 1133, an ordinance of the city of Gray Forest repealing or amending ordinance 516, which, wait a minute. Which amended, the city code of ordinances, chapter 1, general provisions, article 1.3, mayor and council, to add section 1.3.005, powers and authority of the mayor. And I put this on the agenda because after visiting with almost all of the council, the consensus was that this ordinance did not do what they thought it was gonna do, and because I felt like it was inappropriate, as so many citizens pointed out. And since the council then said that it was passed in an attempt to basically protect the city from the voters' choice in the election.
That is not what was said.
No.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
it is exactly,
No, that's not what he said.
It's public record, it's what was said at the meeting.
It's absolutely untrue.
Yes.
You might have said that, but let me tell you something. I'm gonna ask us for all of these ordinances that want to be repealed, I'm gonna make a motion to table this for now, because after the events of this week, I have now changed my mind about that. So I'm asking for us to not repeal it.
Well, and that's fine. But at the meeting, and I actually have that transcript, but I don't guess I brought it. But what you said is that the council had heard that I was gonna go in and fire all the citizens, so the night before the
That's
election.
one of the things I said, yes.
It is absolutely.
But it was,
Yes, thank
I
you.
didn't say any of the other things that you said.
Well, that's what it was. It was to undermine the voters.
No, it was not. It was to protect the city. I think there's a difference.
From the voters.
No, that's
choice.
not what I said.
Yes, that's exactly what it
No,
was.
it was to protect the city from having all of its police department gone. So you can interpret it how you want it, but that is not why it was done. So if you want to twist
Okay.
my words, you can, and I don't appreciate it. And I don't appreciate you doing that in a public meeting.
You said it was to protect
The city.
the
city.
the employees
And the employees. I
from
didn't
the
say- I didn't-
results
I
of the
know, I
election.
didn't say that. I
From
never-
me.
But I didn't say that, and that was not the intention, and you know it. So let's move on. I'm asking that we table all of the repealing of ordinances that are in place for May,
Well-
August, and the Code of Ethics.
No.
I'm going to,
Is that a motion?
I'm making a motion
Do I have a second?
to table those three.
Aye. Second.
All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Did you vote? I didn't vote, because I didn't vote, because I still feel, sorry, I'm listening, the pace is moving a little too fast, so just give me a moment.
Okay.
Because I think I just want to sit back for a moment and say something. There was an element of concern, and I think you're correct in stating that we were concerned that, okay, we looked at our ordinances and we saw, we didn't really have an ordinance that addressed the powers of the mayor. All we have in the powers of the mayor is a local government code, and that's Title II, and basically it says these type of things, the powers and duties of the mayor. The mayor is the chief executive officer of the municipality. The mayor shall ensure the laws and ordinances of the municipality are properly carried out. It's a lot of just generic. It never really says, okay, but does the mayor have the power to accept, hire, fire, to do resignations, all those detailed things? We didn't have anything. And really what our concern at the time was not as much concern for you, it was equal concern for the fact that our prior mayor, sometimes we were receiving things that we did not know had already been done. And so we wanted to have a monetary limit on the mayor to say, hey, if you think something needs to be done, that's good. But if it's not an emergency, let's limit you to $5,000. And so we didn't have a $5,000 limit prior to that. So if a mayor thought that they could need to go spend $20,000, there was really nothing that would stop them. So it was a combination of those things. It was realizing that we didn't have an ordinance that, other than this generic kind of local government code that's related by the state, we didn't have anything specific. So we wanted to be able to do that. But you are correct in that we were not sure what was going to happen. At the time, we knew Citizen Mandy, but we didn't know Mayor Mandy. And we were going, well, how about we just make a generic kind of thing talking about bringing in the council when they're making decisions? And how about we limit how much money they're going to spend? But let's make sure they have full emergency powers. And so if they need to spend $50,000 because there's a septic or there's a problem that needs emergency attention and can't wait until the council meets, well, we want them to have that authority. So it was really our desire to just to be able to define some things. So there is some good stuff in this. I don't want to pitch it.
And that is what I've said, and I think to everybody, I see the benefit of the ordinance.
Yes.
I think the optics are terrible. And I don't think that it actually did the things that had the safeguards in that everybody expected, because I think, like Mike had said a couple of times about the $5,000 spending limit, that actually wasn't a spending limit on the mayor, it was only for improvements to the
Yes.
properties.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So there isn't actually a spending limit on the mayor, except for as far as aesthetics go.
Aesthetics.
So,
Building
yes,
improvement.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I actually, when I read that, except for understanding some of the underlying motivation, I think it's a good idea to put limits on limits. I think it's a good idea to have certain requirements that they have to go through before making broad and sweeping decisions that impact the entire city. And so I think that you're right, that you need this. I think Mandy's right, and she's sensitive to the fact that what I heard at that meeting was, we were told that you would probably try to fire the employees and you would defund the police. That's exactly what I heard. And therefore, we were taking this action against Mandy. But I actually think the ordinance is important, and I wish we would have had it in the years prior. So I hope you do just rework it and make it what you need it to be, and to accomplish what you want. And then go from there.
No, I agree. I think there were some good things going. Oh, sorry.
Yours is technically a bit out of order because there was
A
a
motion.
call for the vote, there was a vote of 3 and 2 had not voted. And so you don't get into the deliberation because it's a motion to table, but you're kind of getting into the deliberation. And so, procedurally, the motion is passed. And so
All right.
You're supposed to stop talking about it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. That's right. The 3.
3-2.
But all we did was.
But can I ask another question related to that?
no, because now it's over, right?
Well, this is more of a, just kind of a legal question in general, but it has to do with whether or not when we table something, if it's on our agenda for our executive session, can we bring it back then? Or no? We have to wait till the next meeting, or?
You can table it for a specific time, you can technically table it indefinitely. It's kind of up to you how you want to do that. So if you tabled it, you'll bring it up at, there was an unspecific time period, so, you can bring it up whenever you need to. But normally it's gonna be something that you're posting on the agenda that could
I thought
pass.
table these to the next meeting, no?
No, technically, if you're under Robert's rules, which we're not, but if you're under Robert's rules, table technically means for the same meeting, later on in the same meeting, when you suspend it or you just remove it, it comes back at another time. But most people in practice use the word table to bring it back at the next meeting.
So technically then, it's just gonna come up later in this meeting?
What do you
No,
mean?
your practice has not been to do that. Your practice has not been to do that. It means it comes back later whenever someone else puts it on the
Yes,
agenda.
ma'am.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I do want to.
You can stop saying you're sorry.
Sorry, but did you put the ethics ordinance on this agenda?
I did, at Dean's request.
Okay.
The ethics ordinance was not at my request.
Yes, when we visited the other night, you asked me to put it on there because it had not accomplished the things you wanted it to.
I actually didn't ask you to put it on the agenda. I told you I thought it was a worthless ordinance. So,
I
please
said,
don't,
then I'll
please
add it
don't,
to the
please,
agenda for
please
you.
don't put words in my mouth.
Oh, okay, I was wondering why it was on.
Yeah, I did not ask for it for that reason. I was making a comment, so.
So we're still talking, and you said at this point, sorry, that we have officially
You-
tabled.
Yes,
tabled
so
We've tabled.
what
So
I
it
would
is
like-
postponed?
What I would like to say is in regard to the ordinances that have to do with, the PD, I would like to table them for the moment and maybe revisit them in executive session.
Oh, no, we're not doing that. You can't just, that is not what, that is, you can't, no.
The motion was made to table.
I guess
at a
she
non-specific
assumed
time
it,
period.
I know, but she assumed it was to go to executive session.
No, I'm not making assumptions, I'm just saying we're talking about the police department and this, and we have a temporary ordinance that has to do with them. And we're talking about that in executive session, so it could come up. That's why, not making any assumptions. Anyway, whatever, I don't care.
The items for repealing the ordinances has been tabled. Repealing and amending the ordinances will come up at another meeting.
Okay.
Other aspects that deal with the mayor's duties and responsibilities, if those parts on the agenda, those can be discussed in executive session.
But I'm pulling them out.
To the extent that they fall under 174, you're allowed.
Thank you.
To the extent they fall under 171, you can.
And the difference between, sorry, 171 and 174?
Confidential.
It's not, legal advice in question.
And if it's an employee-related issue, is it always in executive? Sorry, I'm
No.
not on the table.
No.
Okay, okay.
If it's an employee-related issue and falls under 174, the employee or official has the right to bump it down to the open session.
Okay, okay.
Dr. Johnson, should we start by you, so you voted against that? or-
No, I actually didn't vote, period, sorry. I was abstaining.
Okay.
All right, so that we are going to discuss and take possible action on ordinance 1136, an ordinance of the city of Great Forest, amending the code of ordinances, chapter 1, the record management by adding 1.07.018, city council audio recordings, making audio recordings of the city council meetings to be part of the minutes as a permanent record and to be maintained indefinitely, providing a cumulative clause and severability clause and an effective date. How long do we preserve the minutes? Indefinitely?
Yeah.
Okay.
The official minutes are indefinite. It's not one that's just
Permanent record.
Do I have a motion?
I have a question, does this include our executive session or no?
The executive sessions are not recorded.
Can we add, I know that you can record executive sessions, but that they're only made available by court order, correct?
Right, so right now, if the council wants to begin audio recording of its executive sessions, it can, you have to put it on the agenda to make that a policy vote. And in doing that, you would, you can actually incorporate it within this. Because those are the official minutes, that recording, and so by definition, it becomes permanent record.
Okay.
By state law. If you record your executive session, by state law, that recording is indefinite. It has to be done.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
So can we add that?
Well, we can bring that up in the next agenda.
Yeah, you can put it on a future agenda.
Okay, can we add that to the next agenda, please? Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2022-11-36, an ordinance of the city of Great Forest, Texas, amending the city code of ordinances, chapter 1, general provisions, article 1.07, records management by adding section 1.07.018, city council audio recordings, making audio recordings of the city council meetings to be part of the minutes as a permanent record and to be maintained indefinitely, providing a cumulative clause and severability clause and an effective date.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Mandy, can I just ask, can
Yes,
I ask you a
ma'am.
quick question? When you go to the agenda item, can you say like, you're at, and maybe you did, but I couldn't figure out where you were until you're about halfway through. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, we're on F.
Thank you.
Discuss and take possible action on appointment of Curtis Bolden as interim police chief, public safety administrator, and/or ratification of mayoral appointment for interim police chief. Do I have a motion?
Let's talk about that.
And can I ask, I'm just saying, is this, he is now an employee, is this not more appropriate in executive session? I'm just
Yes.
asking. Because,
No, it's just the
You
appointment.
can consider this in executive session if you would. It's not posted for executive session, but it is an employee issue, and you can consider it in executive session.
If he wishes.
And you have to write the pop down over.
oh, it's the decision of the.
It would fall under
employee?
074, which allows you to go into executive session to discuss it, but if the employee or
wants us in executive session or?
I have no problem with it being an open meeting if I can say a couple things. I live in Gray Forest. Crime goes up, property values go down. I live here too. My property values go down, right? Second of all, Mayor Miguel, on the chief posting that's on the TNL website, have I applied for that job? Yeah. What do y'all have to pay posted on there?
We don't have it, it's negotiable.
But what is the ballpark?
Why is this relevant?
I'm just, it's a question. I mean, I have no problem.
Are you questioning us, or are you trying to convey something to the general public?
I'm trying to convey something to the general.
All right, so let's get to the point.
Okay.
Excuse me,
I'm just asking to get to the point.
it's his time.
Okay.
We have discussed between, what did Kirk say? He
Depends
said
on qualifications.
Yes,
75?
yes, it was
Yeah.
negotiable and depending on qualifications, and so we didn't really assign a dollar amount.
So, I mean, just,
Our prior chief was 65.
just to give them a general idea,
Yes.
and I have not applied for the job. When you asked me to do this temporarily, how much did I tell you that I was gonna get paid?
0.
Thank you.
Mr. Henry? Is he authorized to receive a paycheck while he's doing this job?
I don't have all the information to be able to determine that.
I'm sorry?
I don't have all the information to definitively determine that.
Mr. Bolton, are you you're currently paid by the city of Texas?
Yes.
Are you authorized to receive a paycheck from the city of Texas and the city of Great Forest at the same time?
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
All right. I will double check that if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead. Did I give all my TCOL documentations? Did I not also say that it could be open records and anybody who wanted to come up there to look at it, to see my qualifications too?
Absolutely. Yes.
So,
It was just a whole lot of information. So they have it at City Hall. I have asked that they make it available for whoever wants, just that because of the nature of the information, while I appreciate you letting everyone see it, that they not make photocopies or take pictures of it for your protection.
so I have no problem with y'all discussing it, just wanna make a couple points. A, I have not applied for the job. B, I am not accepting any pay for this. I'm volunteering for this for our citizens in our city. And I am completely open and gave my records and said, anybody wants to look at them, can look at them.
Are you aware, Curtis, that there's a temporary ordinance in place right now that the interim chief has to abide by?
What is that?
Well, okay, so you're not aware.
Well, I mean, I was aware of something like that.
And have you acted to date up until this point in compliance with that temporary ordinance?
Okay, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about the temporary ordinance that we have in place for the police department. And hold on a second, I'll be specific. We, council approved, and the mayor should have this information, and she should have relayed it to you. I'm sure you've been spending a lot of time together. We approved an option at our last council meeting, correct, Mandy? For how we were going to move forward with restaffing the PD. So that's what I'm asking about. Do you know about it? Are you aware of it?
Well, we have already talked about all of that. I called and discussed that with.
Nothing has been approved by council except option 1. Phone calls are not votes.
Correct. However, because after looking at the numbers, as I spoke to all of you, we can't afford
You
option
can't make
1.
that decision by a phone call without a formal council meeting.
I didn't make any decisions. We have not hired anyone.
Let's get to the focus here. So does council, I've got a question, so does the rest of the council have a question? Any question for Mr. Bolden?
I do not.
I will ask a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bolden, since you sit on the mayor's public safety committee, and you were part of the committee that suggested that the mayor put boat right into place, and things have not worked out, supposedly, isn't it convenient that since he stepped down, that you have volunteered to step into his place?
She asked me to step into his place since he left, and I did not apply for the job. I have not taken any pay for this job. I'm doing it for the city.
Can I just say, I would say it was probably wildly inconvenient for him because you look at this for free. Nobody chooses to do this for free. We're the 6 suckers that are doing this for free. Why would anyone else sign up for this?
Well, that was my next question, because nothing's ever for free. So,
But that's not true. We have a number of people here that do all kinds of free things. We have Laurie Hawkins, who acts as the city arborist for free, and we always budget money, and she never accepts that pay. And that is a very generous and kind thing that she does. We have John Chafee, who for years has been, but wait a second, but I'm now speaking. He has monitored the emails for a number of years for an extremely reasonable rate and has made that possible to us. We have citizens like Jerry Dobbs, who has donated materials to fix up the clubhouse and other things around town. We have Sandra, who has used her own money to trim trees and things like that. We have my mother, who donates money to neuter a dog that's running around. I am sure that we have the board members, they volunteer their time, Madeline does, Jen does.
Okay.
But,
Let's get back on this. I've got it. I think we can verify everybody.
the community is built on the idea of volunteerism.
I'm not saying that. I'm just
The
saying.
community is built on the idea of volunteerism. Jennifer grew up in the midst of that, and I'm sure that she could give us all a lesson on what it was like to have a father that volunteered and then fall into those kind of positions herself. The fire department was built by the Red Alps, who volunteered in a lot of those positions for a lot of years. So then to have somebody who's going to volunteer on the police department and act like that is subversive, I think is patently indisciplined.
That is not what I said, okay?
That's what you're saying, you don't want us to have a.
Whoa.
You don't want to have.
But let it finish, go ahead.
The only reason I have a problem with Mr. Bolden, and this is no disrespect to you, okay? This is a citizen, okay, who lives in the city of Great Forest, who's gonna have all kinds of, access, to a lot of files that can be discussed, whatever else, blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying, in the past, before council here, rest of the councils, we've always had a chief, and I'm not saying you're just interim.
Whoa, you don't think our cops would
Has
do
anyone
it?
called on you?
I'm just saying, with some of the things that have gone on with Nextdoor and everything else, with y'all on Facebook and Nextdoor, there's a lot of stuff that gets discussed. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Hey, if the lawyer wants to write it up, I have no problem signing a non-disclosure.
So you're just wanna volunteer to do the interim police chief for the
Yeah.
time until we can, help, and as you can help find a police chief at that time?
No, I'm not gonna be involved in the process, that's all y'all.
Okay. All right. Those are the questions.
I have no access to the TML account they have set up for people to submit their applications. I don't know who submits their application. I have not submitted an application.
Aurelia, do you have any questions?
I don't think so. So are we not doing this in executive session at all? I would like to move this into executive session.
He pulled it into open, so.
Okay.
Mike, if you can give me just a second. Aurelia, do you have any other questions?
No, that's a good one.
Tim?
My only question to you would be, and maybe for Ryan as well, again, I'm always cognizant of risk. And I know that there have been many things that Mr. Boatwright uncovered that weren't being done as well as they should have been done by the previous police force. Is there a concern where, you're doing this for free and you're only sort of partially into it, but then we're patrolling again? Is there risk to the city by doing that, I guess is the question. And maybe that's not enough.
No, we haven't brought anybody new in. We're operating with what we have, the same reserves.
Okay.
There's nobody new. We're getting the schedule up and running. The guys are here. I live in Great Forest, so I work from home, so I'm always around.
Okay.
And I have the chief's phone if they need to get a hold of me. And also to Charles,
Charles, yes.
Charles, he is actually a paid part-time employee with the police department, and he is the only person that has access to the property room. He is the only person. I do not have the code to the door. I do not have the keys to get in there. Charles Marcus was there, and he actually inventoried it the other day with the sheriff's department, and he is the only one that can get in.
I do think we need to move into executive session.
He said he doesn't have a problem with
Okay.
being open, let me ask, do you
I have no
insist
problem,
that
but
it open?
whatever the city council wants, I don't care.
And
Okay.
Jerry, do you have questions?
Yes, sorry.
Well, he says he doesn't care. Councilman Berry asked to go into executive session. You have the ability to go into executive session.
I think that the people though, the police, as we have
Mayor,
seen.
that's what she wants, that, if that's what you want, you need to make a motion. The council decide if you want to continue this discussion in executive session, but I would suggest we do it when the other executive session items come.
Okay, I will make a motion to move this to executive session. When we move into executive session, to continue this discussion, to maintain a level of professionalism in this meeting.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll say aye.
I'm saying aye too.
Okay.
I'm on.
So motion passes.
Can I ask Curtis a question though before we do that? Or 'cause he
No,
won't be in
because
our-
now
he
you
won't be
just
in our
cut that out of
discussion.
the citizens, so.
No, you can have a discussion in executive session, but not all of it has to be there. You have part of it open. If you have an open question session to ask, you can ask in session.
Okay, so I can ask, I was wondering when Mr. Boatwright left, he was looking into a lot of the reservists, and he was trying to vet them for us, because there's quite a few of them, and many of them I knew he was very uncomfortable, I'm just saying, without naming names, he was very uncomfortable with. And so, was that information passed on to you, so as you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you know the people that were on the top list for the vetting, I guess I'm trying to see that that was a continuity of passed on to you, to help you know who to keep?
As we stand right now, I have not gone through those files. I have a good idea, but it's kind of taking care of itself. Like, since yesterday, 3 of the guys have already told me that they've already taken jobs somewhere else. Another guy said he'll come in Monday to turn his stuff in when I was trying to schedule them to get everybody back working, because I think that's what the citizens want. They want the patrol back out there, and I'm doing that.
Yeah, and I just, because I was, so much work he had already done, I hate to lose that, and I hate to have to reinvent and redo. And there were a lot that we were uncomfortable with, so I'm just hoping, would he agree to be available to you? Do you know, I mean, is that a relationship where you could just call and say, hey?
Who, Boatwright?
Boatwright, yes.
I've spoken to him like twice,
Okay.
but
But he had those files were set aside, I think,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, so there's a place where you can kind of go to see, okay, because I just hate to lose all that work. I know that was a good part of what he was focusing
And
on.
I still have a fundamental issue that we continue to not follow process and things that are actually approved by this council. We approved option 1. We are now moving forward with something other than option 1. And I would like to discuss that. Option 1 was to hire a police chief, then a sergeant, and then to add in 10 or 15 reserves. We have not yet hired a police chief.
Correct.
So
But I'm trying to buy y'all time.
we don't need to buy time. We need to get to work, and we need to start putting option 1 in place. This is not what's happening right now, in my view. We're
but
doing
have
something
you
different.
reviewed the applications? Have you talked to any of the applicants?
I've asked for the applications, and your response was we've only had 4.
We have
So
only
I've
had
asked
4.
for that.
And
What
that's why I have
I don't want to get
suggested,
into discussion. I'm trying to make a point that we are not following the plan that we set forth at our last meeting.
are.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
How are we not?
Because this is not option 1.
It
This
is
is
option
another
1.
option.
This is holding the department so that y'all have time to choose someone. Aurelia, I know, had emailed today asking for the TML posting because it is a very strict posting. And I don't think that we're gonna probably get very many more applications on it because it is a sky-high posting. So I have once again encouraged, like I did for the past 6 weeks, for everyone to please review the posting. I don't find it to be realistic.
It is a challenge, this is it, if you wish.
I've seen
I think
it.
y'all have it, but it is a,
That is what Vote Right.
yes.
Correct.
And
I
we gave him the authority
We did.
Yes,
We did.
Well, he's given us the gold medal routine.
Right.
And Great Forest can settle, I think, with a silver, a bronze, medal, and I think that would be sufficient. However, that's what we need to really kind of look at. That's what I had talked to you, we talked about, yes, we know about the monies that's gotta be involved with that. So, do we need the gold medal standard? No. Can we settle for bronze? I think so.
So my
Well,
thought is
and
that we need to redo that posting so that we get more applicants, because we don't want just more applicants. We do have some other options.
But I would like somebody to help us, I mean, as not being police officers.
It's an easy fix. I suggested they just put in an extra line in there saying that experience supplemented for education and whatever, whatever y'all think.
Yeah, and I would like to say something too. I've been doing some homework, and there are some other resources. It's unfortunate because without council's involvement, I mean, we honestly have not really been involved in the hiring and being able to talk to Vote Right when he was on board in any of this. And so we do have some other resources and people that are looking for officers for us, but I haven't actually had a chance to talk to anybody about. But we can do that once we have a process in place for doing that. We just don't have we're not able to have the dialogue.
Well, I don't
Okay, so-
understand why we're not able to have the dialogue.
Well, everybody's been scrambling and doing their research, so what I'm saying that we have other resources that we really should discuss.
So what happened to Vote Right?
Thank you.
Vote Right invoked his severability clause, or whatever.
It's a
Termination clause.
He quit. Basically.
Because I was very intent on getting officers back on the street patrolling, because we have big holidays coming, and a lot of people like to go out of town. And it's everybody's
I would suggest you don't go to the live.
top priority. Why?
You'll be able to.
So you can't share the information now, but maybe the next meeting in January, you can give us a follow-up? Because you're not meeting in December. So we could get a follow-up in January and then you could tell us? Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Ryan, is that okay?
Yeah, you should have something.
We got Mr. Boat ready.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Mr. Boatright talk to the council before he left?
He sent them an email.
He did.
He met with each one of us individually.
And told you why?
On his way out?
Yes.
Yes.
Why would, I'm just curious why the citizens weren't made aware that he was gone.
I think I sent you, well, I sent out an email a few mornings ago, but that was, I had a limited list.
We did not get it.
Yeah, and not all of us got it.
Well, I know I sent it to y'all and I sent it to Laurie,
No.
but
We got an email from a private citizen for some reason, asking to.
I sent out that I was having email
No,
trouble,
no,
my
no, no,
city
a
email.
private citizen sent us an email saying they're going to introduce himself, which I would like to be removed from that person's list, because I never gave
Well,
them.
then you need to take that up with them.
I know, well, I am right now. And
Okay.
then you,
But not in the meeting.
but you sent an email that we did not receive, you did not send it to
Well, I
all
apologize for
citizens.
that, I must have an old email. Huh? I did, there is something in the newsletter actually about it, and Curtis James Coffee was the mayor. You're right, thank you.
How much did we pay Vote Right? $30,000, $20,000?
You're getting off the agenda subject, and so.
But no, not that much, but,
I suggest we.
okay, reel it back in.
Move on to the next one.
Mike had a question, go ahead, Mike.
One thing I learned talking to Mr. Boatright for the little time as it was, is he was greatly concerned about the liability issue and the amount we were paying for the insurance for the reserves. What is our insurance tab for Mr. Boatwright? I'm sorry, Mr. Bolton, excuse me, Mr. Bolton. Well, how much insurance are we paying for his volunteer time?
It doesn't, that's not the way it
For
works.
liability.
What?
So what happens if,
So he's not insured?
We pay by hours worked, estimated hours worked for the year.
How many hours has he done?
It's not about him, it's about for the department.
No, but is he insured, is all we're asking.
The city is insured.
so but we're guaranteeing, and I know this won't happen, we're guaranteed, God forbid, something happens, and, you know, he runs over somebody, it's not gonna happen, or, you know, there's an incident. The city's covered.
The city has.
Great. Mr. Bolton, earlier you were quoted as stating that you believe that 2 or 3, maybe more members of council were illegally on council, and that this doesn't really makes it a legal council. Can you comment on that?
My current position, I would prefer not to comment on anything.
Fair enough, fair enough. Appreciate that.
Yes, Paul?
Yeah, hi, Curtis.
Yes, sir.
So I was the one that brought up the whole, code of ethics and ethical behavior as your role. So maybe you can comment on how you sort of separate yourself from that conflict of interest in the code of ethics, and these are kind of the points.
What's the conflict of interest?
So in the code of ethics with the department, right, that you currently are employed with, it says that you cannot gain employment or even volunteer if you were sought after because of your position with the department. And so even in your letter, you told us, hey, I have experience. I've been an investigator 4, I've done all these things, I was over in Memphis for a while, but currently you're with the department. And because of that investigator position, you have experience that tells us we could have confidence in you as our interim police chief. But the code of ethics says you can't use your current position to maintain employment or even a volunteer position with anyone that has sought you because of your current position.
My code of ethics with who?
With the Department of Family and Protective Services.
No, that's not true, because even my supervisor himself works as a reserve officer, secondary employment with Northside High
So
School.
I'm reading it right here.
Okay, thank
I
you,
have-
Paul.
No, I'm not done yet. I have a few other questions. The other question is, there's a $50 threshold. You cannot accept anything above $50 or else it will be taken as a violation of code of ethics.
That's if somebody gives me a present at work at DFPS.
So did you pay for your weapon? Did you pay for your uniform?
This weapon's actually the weapon I carried when I was in Memphis Police Department.
And that uniform is all less than
All
$50?
mine. I've been in the police for 34 years. I got a closet to leave.
And that, what is your patch say?
The mayor gave me those.
That would be a gift? I'm
No.
wondering how much that is.
To wear.
And any other gifts?
If you don't want me to do it, I'll say no.
I actually agree with that. I don't want you to do it.
That's fantastic, your time's up.
Yeah, thank you.
Because if he doesn't do it, we lose the department, so
No.
let's just have a
I
little
disagree with you.
perspective. I don't care if you disagree with me, that's fantastic, please sit down. All right. So,
Do I have a motion? Don't call me Sandy.
hey!
Mayor, do we really need this resident to call my wife fucking bitch in front of everybody? Where last time I was here, she accused someone of using cocaine. She calls people bitch.
Excuse me?
Why isn't she being removed?
Sit down!
Why aren't you doing something about it?
I'm the meeting like you are.
She just called her a name.
Do something
All
about it.
I hear is a gentleman yelling at me who I'm going to have removed if he cannot put it together.
So let another.
Excuse me, you haven't been recognized either. I'm about sick and tired of it from all of you. Pull it together or I will have you all escorted out. All of you. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything to add to this discussion?
Your Honor, Mayor, there's a motion to discuss the remainder in executive session.
And that was passed.
So, if there's no other public discussion, move on.
Fantastic. Andy Jackson, I think, left, and he was the one with the presentation on the stop sign. So, he has provided information. If you would like that information, Miguel can provide that to you. And the council has that information as well. So, what?
We skipped the A.
Oh, Lord. What about the ECHO? What do y'all think? That is A of unfinished business.
Well, city council, the last meeting, requested dollar amounts, and so, in order to give a fair amount from Senator and Express News, what I provided to them was one of the captions for one of our ordinances that had been already paid for by the city of Great Forest. So the amount for that was, the San Antonio Express News was $238.37 for one caption, and the Echo was $65 for a caption.
Per year.
Significant.
Per year.
No, per
Yeah,
caption.
Oh, per caption, I'm sorry.
Per
Yeah, no.
And so that's what we're looking at, and we're looking for that.
Yeah, it's significant. The lawyers had I'd make a motion to approve the Helotes Echo as a primary official newspaper for the city of Great Forest and providing an effective date. And it's resolution 2022-34, Mark.
Second.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Tim. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And I think we just need to postpone the other one because.
Can I make a comment just real quick on B? Is there any reason we don't ask a traffic engineer? I'm just having an opinion on the best ways to control traffic. I don't know, any of us are a traffic engineer. I don't know. Those are people
I have
that.
the county is gonna come the second week of December and meet with my road committee, of whom Andy Jackson, Chris Kane, Trish Terrazas, and the Badens have volunteered to participate.
Okay, that'd be very helpful.
So then they'll be able to bring that
Can we
information.
point people to that ite.org site
Oh,
as
yes,
well?
and that's very good.
Good site to get information on what they call traffic calming techniques, ite.org. There's a lot of examples and how much these types of things cost. There's sheets on all kinds of different applications. Some will be ones that don't pertain to our streets and the size of them, but there are some options that people can look at.
Thank you, Ken.
Ma'am?
And if you need that information, you can call Miguel or Nicole, and they can get that to you as well, because Kimberly had passed that along, and it does have a lot of good stuff. Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, we're still talking about 9B, correct? The stop signs?
Yes, sir.
Have we discussed that with Chief Red Bell on how that'll impact emergency vehicles?
I talked to him the other day, but I do not remember that I talked to him about that.
I'd like council to hear his
Good idea.
his saying on that, his thoughts on that.
Okay, I just got in trouble.
Yeah, he's gonna hear about that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. I can send this out tomorrow,
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think there are other options on the website too. Those were just some examples, so, you know, people can take a look, the committee should take a look.
I think so too.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that you will be willing to.
I'll be on, yeah, I'm all for it.
Alright. Is there anything about the other stuff that can be brought into open, or we just want to take it on executive? I don't care. Y'all just know.
I think we're ready for exec. Right? We just have to read the.
Alright, so I would like a motion to adjourn into executive session in which we will discuss and possibly, we won't take any action in executive session. Pardon me, I almost slipped. We will discuss the appointment of Curtis Bolden as interim police chief. We will deliberate on the appointment of the city secretary. We will discuss matters.
City attorney.
It does say attorney. I apologize.
Yeah.
I don't know. That might be looking pretty squishy with these days. and deliberate on the duties and responsibilities of the mayor in accordance with section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to go into executive session.
Thank you, Tim.
So we're ending the normal session?
Oh, I guess we have to end the norm, well.
Just give it somebody.
You note the time that you're adjourning the regular session, and you will reconvene.
It is now 8:26, we are going into